programs that the state passes or the federal government passes that fall apart on implementation, right? And the Executive Council really has a tremendous amount of influence over that implementation, right? It's called the most important office we've never heard of in the state. And so what I would say is when you're out knocking doors, delivering this message, try to bring it home, figure out what issue someone really cares about. What frustration have they had in the past with the delivery of services that they're actually entitled to? And that is a common experience that so many people have had. We just can't navigate, the bureaucracy, right, of the state. And let them know that if they find themselves in that situation, they can call, their executive counselor. That is their lifeline. And so what they want in this position is someone who is responsive to their needs, who's going to answer the phone, who has a history of acting with urgency. Because we have such severe problems in this state that we can't wait all the time for new legislation to pass. What we need is someone who's really, really focused on the delivery of those services, who has that background.
Thank you. So Karen, talking to our neighbors, our family members, people we meet at doors, why should we care about the executive council?
Okay, well, 3 is the magic number, so I'm going to give you 3 reasons. 1, judicial appointments. We're all familiar with how judicial appointments work at the federal level, right? The president nominates, and then they're confirmed through the Senate. In New Hampshire, it's not a legislative function. The nominations are made by the governor, and then they are appointed. The hearings are held by the Executive Council, and the Executive Councilors vote on judicial nominations. And I'll underscore that we're seeing the Supreme Court of the United States unraveling the role of the federal government in protecting our constitutional rights and liberties. We saw it with Dobbs overturning Roe. We saw it recently with the Chevron decision that is making it difficult for the EPA to now enforce environmental protections. The front line for the next decades is going to be here at the state level, and the judicial appointments at the state level are more important than ever. So 1 is judicial appointments. 2, roads and bridges, okay? The governor of Michigan, who I really love, Gretchen Whitmer, I think her slogan was fix the damn roads, okay? That's what matters to people, right? I know this as a city councilor. This is what I hear about from people. This is how state government affects our daily lives in a way that the Executive Council has a role over. That's the 10-year highway plan, roads and bridges, also public transportation. We have got to improve our public transportation system in New Hampshire. It's related to climate change, it's related to our economy. It's a social justice issue. People need to be able to get around the state. So public transportation as part of the 10-year highway plan, roads and bridges, that's the second one. And the third one, let me see what I wrote down. Yeah, sorry. The third one is about leveraging federal dollars. So, over the last several years, and even before COVID, there are federal dollars that are available to state governments. And here's an example, and in New Hampshire, we do not always accept those federal dollars. And here's an example, it's another example of Cindy Warmington doing what she does, holding people's feet to the fire until there's some positive action. Earlier in the year, the state of New Hampshire had not applied for federal funding that was available to feed hungry children over the summer. You might have heard about this, that families that were income eligible were going to be able to receive additional SNAP benefits, food stamps, for over the summer, because during the summer it's harder for hungry kids because they don't get the free and reduced lunch that they get during the school year. So the federal government had actually said states are going to be eligible to apply for these funds to feed hungry kids over the summer. Well, the Department of Health and Human Services had not applied for that federal funding. Cindy Warmington made sure to bring it up, because this is the part of the role that you have as executive counselors. Even if something's not on the agenda, you can bring part of the informal power that I was talking about that executive counselors have, she brought it up and she said, hey, why are we not doing this? And the answer from the commissioner was something about red tape and bureaucracy and all of that. Well, that generated some outrage in the state, and sure enough, a couple of months later, the state figured out how to apply for those funds, and they're now going to be available, I think, starting in September, which is sad because now we've had kids that have gone hungry over the summer. So good news is that it did change thanks to Cindy's skillful work. But these are the types of things that you can point out to people, that the Executive Council does make a difference. So first, judicial appointments. Secondly, roads and bridges. And thirdly, leveraging federal dollars.